I got green. Yeah. The rare days of a trader, the unicorns, if you will. Actually, I really needed a green day. Yesterday, I was so poopy in the mood. It was a bad day, and I really needed a green day. I've highlighted the background green. It might be a little cheesy, but it lets you know that I got green today, and I could not be more excited about going green. And I was actually green really right out of the gate, which is super rare for me. You know, as a new trader, we make bad trades almost constantly to where we just probably feel like we should give up, and that's really close to where I was. Should I give up? And then you have a day like today. And it's not like it was a big green day, I'll show you, but it was still green. And the trades that I made turned out. Now, to be clear, I am not teaching you how to trade here. This is a trade vlog primarily for myself to look back and say, hey, this was your first green day. Probably not my first green day, but first green day that I decided to vlog about. And it's kind of wild because I did it all with 50 shares. So, let me preface the reason why. I've traded everything from 500 to 5,000 and made money and lost money. Easy come, easy go, and it happens so fast, and then you rack up a bunch of fees for the routing fees. And anyway, I really kind of had such a rough day yesterday, and I needed a mental checkup, and I didn't really want to go to a sim trader. And here's the reason why. I've traded a ton in the sim, and really it's not the same. Emotionally, it's not the same, and also your fill rate is not the same. Like, it's in a simulator, it's almost impossible to not get filled exactly when you hit your hotkey button. And in the real world, it's not quite that easy. Your fills don't happen, or you get partial fills, and your sells don't happen. And so I decided to just trade 50 shares at a time, which really is crazy to think about, because at 50 shares day trading, you're really probably not going to make a ton of money. And I did not make a ton of money today. That's the beauty of it. It wasn't like it was like mind-blowing money. It was just like a slow and steady chug. So anyway, 50 shares, and I redid my whole keyboard to just very simple hotkeys. I had a hotkey to buy 50 shares on the bid, and I had a hotkey to sell 50 shares on the ask. I had a cancel, because if you put it in and it didn't get filled, then you wanted to cancel off that order so it didn't accidentally get filled later. And then I had a bailout key to sell everything on the bid with a 5-cent like float or variance. So if the market was just tanking and I had to bail out of a position, then I could hit that bailout button and it would sell in the bid and close. And really, 50 shares, you're probably not going to get a lot of slippage anyway, because it's like 50 shares. But that was basically my hotkeys. I had a buy, a sell, a cancel, and a bailout. That's it. I actually have a hotkey on there to sell half of the position, and I only used it once. I really stuck with buy on the bid, sell on the ask, make a good entry, or get out of town. And even though I had everything simple and perfect, I still hung on to one trade far longer than I needed to. And it turned out, because I was trading a stock that had high momentum, but this is probably why I'm only trading 50 shares, is because I still bought it and it sold off, and I became the bag holder, the man of hope. you know, and I really should have just dumped it, let it sell off, and picked it back up. I mean, it would have probably been the better move. And I'm still getting my mind wrapped around just dumping those bad trades, cutting the loss, and then, you know, you can always get back in. That's the thing. So anyway, I traded 3 different stocks. BBIG was the one I traded pre-market into the open, and I made $11.99 on that bad boy. Boom. That's right, $11.99. And then I traded EFTR and ATER. ATR, I made $13.86. That's right. That's right. At this point, I can take me and my wife to Texas Roadhouse for steak and potatoes. But the real winner was EFTR. And I'm going to show you EFTR. I'm not going to show you, again, this is not a tutorial. I just want to show you the chart and why this turned out to be a really fun stock to trade. So this is the chart of EFTR right here. And this is the 1 minute, and this is the 5 minute right here. And that's what I was trading, 1 minute, 5 minute. I did find it on a scanner. So just to preface that, it wasn't like I just magically had this pop up. I'm subscribed to a momentum scanner, and this became a momentum stock early in the morning, and so that's how I found it. It's the 1 minute and the 5 minute. I primarily traded the 1 minute, but I really kept a close eye on the 5 minute just to see the volume coming and going. It was up right at the beginning, so this is where I started out. In fact, I'll show you my trade log of when my first trade was, and it came ripping right through here from 12 to like $15, and I think I started trading at about $14. We can look here in a minute. And then it went flat, and all the way through here I made a couple of trades, and how I was making them was I was buying on the bid and selling on the ask, and there was between a 10-cent and a 25-cent spread, and you could just almost trade both sides of the spread in this channel. It was pretty cool. It was actually really fun. And then this thing started to rip. Whew. And honestly, it was going so fast it was kind of scary. But like, I mean, it ripped from like 15 to like $40. Look at that. Whew. I mean, this thing's up like 180% at one time. I think it closed up 104%. It basically was like the straight up Momo stock. It had all the momentum in the world, and it was so fun to see one of those. That was my first probably like really like multi-hour momentum stock where it would rip, it would consolidate, wedge, make bear flags, or bull flags, and then rip again, consolidate, rip, consolidate. I mean, it's probably a picture perfect chart. Like the ones that every person that's ever teaching you how to trade, this is the chart that they look at. I mean, it was rip, consolidate, rip, consolidate, rip, consolidate. I mean, look at all these. It's just crazy, all these different like opportunities to buy in through this market. And if you are more comfortable with a 5 minute, it probably was even cleaner to see it through the 5. So anyway, I don't profess to understand chart reading at all. I'm just, you know, if I was going to talk to myself through a video, good job. You finally landed a stock that was worth trading. So let's just talk about the P&L. This is my P&L right here. I made $231.41 on EFTR. So I netted out $257.26 on the day. That is amazing because I traded 50 shares at a time. 50 shares at a time to come up with $257. And so you probably think to yourself, you probably traded a ridiculous amount. Your fees are through the roof. I only had $6.71 in fees. Like, that is unbelievable. That was such a cool day. And I don't know if it's repeatable, but man, talk about some mojo and some, like, you know, boost of encouragement that it worked out. So I was going to show you, this is my my trade log, my order log, if you will. And so you can see I started out trading BIG and made my $11.99 on BBIG. And at 9:59, so, you know, a half hour after the bell, I bought my first position for $14.14 and sold it for $14.35. And I'm not gonna lie, I thought I'd already killed it. I was like, yes. I almost immediately went back in, bought at $15.20, sold at $15.32. Then, you know, 10 minutes later, I bought at $13.91. I had a bunch of, like, try to sell it. I didn't fill, so these are canceled orders in the gray, and sold at $14.05. So you can see the pattern. I'm just kind of chugging away. At one time I was like up like $60, and I'm like, yes, nailed it. And I just kept chugging away, buying $50 at a time, selling it for a little bit more, catching these swings. And I mean, I bought all my last purchase I bought at $33.93 and sold it for $34.48. And this is like at 1:06. Like, this is in power hour. Like, it did this all day. A real trader, like one that knew what he was doing, that probably was trading a decent share size, I'll bet you there's guys that clipped $1 million off this stock today. Easily $100,000 in one day, because, I mean, like, it was just the picture perfect day trader momentum stock. It was awesome. So that's EFTR. That's the stock that I made money on. Felt like I had a little bit of momentum. It obviously had some momentum, and was a hoot to trade. So, green day for me.